I was listening to a recording that Master gave the other day. I was listening to it the other day. And in the recording, he was saying how when we do something, when we're reincarnated, God purposefully did not allow us to remember the bad things from the past life. And he said, because that's all we would dwell on if we knew what we had done that was bad in a past life. And I mean, think of it even now. Where does the mind kind of go when the energy is a little low? Why did I do that? Why did that happen? And it's a very helpful habit to learn to catch ourselves. Meaning, when the mind starts drifting into, why did I do that? Or remembering the negative things that we have done, or even that others have done. It's very important to just learn to either use some japa or meditate or do something to shift the energy out of that downward pull. Because that in the Raja Yoga class, which we now call Foundations of Kriya Yoga, in that class there's a chapter called not the yogic scheme of life. Where's the energy up versus energy down?
Then life is a battlefield.
Right, life is a battlefield. Part 1 and 2, he gave 2 whole chapters to it. Life is a battlefield. The whole point of those chapters is that we are constantly fighting against the negative downward pull of just, the way life is on earth. You can call it satanic. And that our job is to overcome that downward pull and learn to live and allow ourselves to be pulled upward. It's the whole goal. And so you can see how in life you can observe, this was trying to pull me down. I have this solution to pull me up. And try and think of, you can even write a little list, things that pull me down or pulled me down in 2018. And how could I pull myself up and in 2019 to not fall into those traps? Because really, they're just traps. We don't need to go into the trap of the downward pull. Try and find the solution that brings us up. Such a relief. I was talking the other day about how this woman wrote a book, and her friend had contacted her from the astral world. And, whether it's true or not, it feels true, and it kind of corresponds to things Master has said about the astral world, and similar to what Dharmarajan was saying with the carrot. This woman said she was a light worker on the other side, and that she was helping newly dead / alive souls who were coming into the astral world. And Master said that, some will come into the astral world fully awake and ready to do some work and help people. Some will be asleep. And so she said she was tending people in the astral hospital, and they would kind of sleep for a long time until they were finally ready to wake up a little bit. But that also then, and she was trained by some other astral light workers as well. These were human souls that were doing this. I don't know actually if they're human on some other planet, but I'm just saying souls like we would have. And so she was trained by someone to do this, and then this person or a new person was training her to go down to the lower astral worlds to help people in the lower astral places. And so they would sink down into, I don't know what it would look like physically, but energetically they would sink down and be able to see people who were in a lower astral situation. And very often these people had done very bad things, and they felt very badly about it. And the light worker's job was to shine light and have the person look into the light. And so there was one guy who was a Nazi. And there were a lot of stories, but this is the one I remember the most. He was a Nazi, and we know the Nazis killed 5 million Jews during World War II, plus a lot of other people, millions of other people they murdered so that they could have a master race. And so this one guy, he was one of those and had the belief of that, but then surprise, he went on the other side, and oops, guess what? That's not what life's about. Oops. So anyway, at some point, probably after his deep sleep, he sunk down. And he felt horrible about what he did. He sat on a bed with just his head like this down. And the little light workers would come down and shine light in that, and week after week or day after day, he would just have his head down. And then one day, something happened. The light workers were doing what they did, and he suddenly looked up. And they knew, okay, he's starting to look. So then they would come down and he would look up and start relating to the light that was coming to him. And then the whole goal was to get him to actually look up and see the light. In fact, I have a very bright light in my face right now. And look up and see the light, and then finally we look up, see the light, and he floats up to wherever his little realm is supposed to be in the astral world. No words necessarily said. Maybe they counseled him a little bit, but it was just the simple thought of looking into the light. Isn't that beautiful? That's what we do here. Every time we do Kriya, we are looking into the light. Every time, we choose to not someone, we are choosing the light. Every time we don't dwell on something negative we did in the past, we're choosing the light. And it's a very conscious choice. And every time we choose the light, we are building our light muscles. We're building our muscles to be able to look into the light. We're building our spiritual muscles by having all these bad things happen to us as humans on this earth. Swami said, I remember once I was going through a really hard time someplace, and I had written to Swamiji about my difficult time, and he was doing a public talk, and suddenly he said, Master said, we don't get strong wrestling babies. And I thought, perfect. I'm sure everybody in that audience thought he said that for them. And I felt he had said that for me. And it was like, oh yeah, okay. We don't get strong wrestling babies. Difficult things happen to make us strong. Not easy things happen to make us happy about that. That's an attached level of happiness. We have on purpose the affirmation with the card that we gave you all today is on happiness. And we've been doing success each year for a while, and we thought, well, let's change it to happiness. And it's a very beautiful concept. It's actually the key to success is to feel happiness under all circumstances. And it's not a fake happiness like, I'm a yogi and so I'm going to be happy. It's not that. As Dharmarajan was saying, Kriya Yoga is very much an answer to that. Kriya makes it easy. When we practice Kriya, it helps us to be happy in every moment. And it helps us with decisions. It helps us tune into the Guru. It's just overall Wonderful. I had a interesting dream a few nights ago, and it left me feeling a bit wondering why I had that dream, and wondering if what happened in that dream, what would I actually do? And in the dream, something life-changing happened, and it felt very real. I don't know if it was super conscious or whatever, but it felt very real what was happening. And I woke up remembering the whole dream. I wrote it down just to help myself. But I was thinking, why did I have to have that dream? It was a traumatic thing that happened. And I was thinking, why give me that dream? What am I supposed to learn from that dream? And I shared it with Dharmaraj, and he said, well, you had a specific reaction in that dream, which is actually really good to know. What happened was I ended up really showing how deeply I cared about a certain topic. Again, I'm talking around the dream. I don't want to share it. But I felt very strongly, positively about a certain topic in life, a certain issue in life. I felt so positive about it. And that was a really good thing to know. And yet, when I woke up, I was thinking, what would I do if that situation actually happened? And I was like trying to figure it out. Like, what would I do? And what if that did happen? And what if these things all happened? And so I meditated on it. And I just felt complete peace. Because I thought, you know what, Master? No matter what happens, I want to just follow your will. That's it. That way I couldn't say, but I hope this doesn't happen, or if that happens, then I'll do this. Figuring it all out ahead of time. Theoretical figuring out is never a good idea, because really you have to be in the moment to really make a decision. But so if something traumatic like that did happen to me, I realized all I would do is I would meditate as much as possible to try and feel Master's will in the situation and follow that. It really simplifies difficulties in our lives. Just try to tune in as best as possible to what Master wants. It really keeps us out of our fears, because our fears are, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? The answer is, whatever happens, if we just meditate and try with all our heart, all our strength, to just tune into what the Guru would want us to do and try and really get clear in the mind and not have it polluted with what we want the solution to be. Got to get that out. All those attachments to how things should be. Get them out of the brain. Open the heart. Try and receive what God really wants for us. I was saying earlier, what God wants us to do is the shortcut to success, or the shortcut to happiness, the shortcut to inner freedom. It may not seem like the shortcut, because when we encounter, here's the difficult thing God wants us to do, and we go like this. And he's like, guess what? This is still here. It's like, but I don't want to do that. And so then you go through it. And the distance was this far instead of, So sometimes we have to do the more difficult thing to, get through the sting of the bee. Maybe the shortest path is through a swarm of bees. Maybe the other direction is the bears, and the other direction is the alligators or crocodiles. And so we decide I'm going to get stung instead. And so we go through, and who knows, maybe God's grace protects us from even one sting. But we go through it, because we were guided, we heard the guidance, and we did it, and then we realized, oh, it was so simple to just do it that way. It wasn't easy to do, but it was a simple decision to follow God's will. So let's hope in 2019, whenever we encounter a traumatic incident or a difficult thing, that we try and just calm down a little bit, sit in meditation, try and hear God's presence, try and clear our minds of our opinions about how it should really be. I remember I was going through a very difficult time in one of the locations of Ananda I've lived. And one person was being very nasty towards me. And I was dealing with it for a long time, years. And finally I kind of felt, maybe it's time to go, And it was really me just trying to bypass something. And I wrote to Swamiji and I said, well, I think maybe it's time to move. And what do you think? And he said, I really feel as though you're growing where you are right now. And I was thinking in a couple years to send you to India. Or a few years, I don't remember how. So let's just see how things go. They had just gone to India just then. And so I think you should just stay. And even though it was the difficult choice, I knew whatever Swamiji would suggest that I do would be the shortest path to success through that issue. And it was. And in fact, when I left that place, I told the person, I always loved you. And the person didn't take it very well. But I didn't care. I felt good. Getting finally to a place where I just said, I've always loved you. And so then I could leave feeling very clean. I wasn't running away. That lesson was very important because I've been through a lot of difficult situations, especially since then. And I always know running away from the difficulty is not the shortest path. So just remember these things. Okay, so happy almost New Year, and we're going to meditate until midnight. You'll hear the sound of the gong, feel the gong resonating in the heart, feel as though Master is welcoming us into 2019. God bless you.